Hayley Denisha Williams. Step to the front, baby. Come to the front, cousin. Now listen. When I say full body chills, when I heard that song for the first time, she did her big one. Big one.
That True Believer song from Hayley got me in a chokehold. Especially this one line where she says, "The South shall not rise again until it's paid for every sin." I don't know if it was just me, but I feel like that was a hex. I feel like Hayley just put a hex on the entire South. To me, that was the same energy as, "Until you do right by me, everything you think about is going to crumble." That's the same energy. That's a hex.
I did not clock that T at first, but I think she definitely did. I think she definitely did. I really do think that she definitely laid down a spell. And, you know, my girl Hayley Williams, she got a thing about making music that really reaches people. And I think this song is definitely one that's going to reach so many people. Might even wake people up, honestly. You know, the term woke, yeah, it's after you get woken up out of the slumber. And I think she's going to wake up a lot of people out of their slumber with this singular one song. She did that. 8.
Warning. Viewer discretion is advised.
What if Hayley Williams' latest album isn't just music, but a reanimation of Southern ancestral power? Some listeners say her new track, True Believer, is a hex on the South. But what if it's deeper than that? What if Hayley was channeling the ancestors themselves, not to curse us, but to awaken us? Our ancestors are not just memories. They are our first line of defense, our protectors, our guides. They are invested in our survival because their legacy lives through us. That's why we are our ancestors and they are us. Some of them need us to end cycles of trauma in the bloodline. These are the ones whose stories are often lost, but whose power still lives on through us. When Hayley wrote True Believer, much like Ryan Coogler when he created Sinners, she may have been tuning into those ancestors, not just her own, but the ones rooted in the soil of this land. Voices like Billie Holiday, Emmett Till, and Ida B. Wells, all tied to the anti-lynching struggles of the past last 2 centuries.
If you recently heard the amazing, phenomenal song by Hayley Williams called True Believer, you might be wondering what strange fruit means. So the song that it's based off of, the phrase strange fruit, was most famously performed by Billie Holiday. It was a poem that was written by Abel Maripal in 1937, I believe, somewhere around there in the 30s. As a protest to the lynching of African Americans. He was inspired to write the poem after seeing a photo of 2 Black teenagers being lynched. So he wrote the poem. It eventually ended up with Billie Holiday, who would sing it during her performances, very hesitantly because she was afraid of retaliation, which she was right to be concerned about. But Billie Holiday and Nina Simone are the 2 people that are most famously known for singing that song. Nina Simone was later in the 60s. And if you have not heard the song, I highly recommend you go and listen to it. Both Billie Holiday's version and Nina Simone's.
Strange fruit hanging from the poplar tree.
The poem is referring to Black people being lynched as strange fruit. Swinging in the Southern breeze is a lyric in the song. I think it should be like required listening in school. It's that impactful of a song.
Hayley Williams' new song True Believer references Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday and distills the weight of Black Southern history into 4 hard-hitting lines. Strange Fruit by Billie Holiday delivers the devastating opening line, Southern trees bear a strange fruit, blood on the leaves bled at the root. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. Billie Holiday had one of the most beautiful voices in music history, so when you hear her crooning vocals sing over such horrifying lyrics, the juxtaposition is startling and will send a chill down your spine. But this is no accident. The beauty of her voice against the horror of her words is a mirror to the South. The South, with all of its pride of Southern manners, magnolia trees and vain niceties, cheaply disguise a horrific underbelly of violence and death. This is the true South, and this is what Hayley Williams is singing about in True Belief. Hayley is calling out the South that sweeps its sins under the rug. The South Will Rise Again comes from a post-Civil War lost cause myth, which romanticized the Confederacy, downplaying slavery, and framed the South as unfairly defeated. So Hayley Williams here is saying that the South needs to pay for every sin.
So, in a sense, Hayley Williams is taking up the mantle of Billie Holiday to bring attention to unlawful executions of Black Americans by the way of lynching. But lynchings didn't start in the civil rights era that Billie Holiday belongs to. In fact, it started in the post-Civil War period. We know this thanks to the investigative journalism of our ancestor Ida B. Wells, who extensively documented the lynchings that took place in not only the South, but the entire United States of America. Ida B. Wells exposed the truth behind the lynchings that white Southerners denied and tried to cover up. Because of the work of ancestors like Ida B. Wells, we now are armed with the information needed to combat the gaslighting, the propaganda, and the attempts to erase history.
1-year-old college student, DeMartravion Trey Reed, was found hanging from a tree on Delta State University's campus in Cleveland, Mississippi. Like other deaths sharing lynching's imagery, Reed's was ruled a suicide. Colin Kaepernick, who has been paying for second autopsies of victims of police violence since 2022, is funding Reed's second autopsy. Here's why these independent autopsies are so needed. A century ago, police and coroners started writing off Black lynchings as suicides. That practice continues in coroners' offices today. Some officials who handle autopsies are elected, tied to the sheriff's department, or double as sheriffs. Most of them aren't even required to have medical training, but are empowered to fabricate causes of death for victims of white supremacist violence. According to a ProPublica, Frontline, and NPR investigation, these offices make critical errors. Some of the most alarming are blatant mistakes in identifying causes of death, losing dead bodies, cremating bodies prematurely, and not even bothering to perform autopsies on assumed suicides at all. Autopsies can bring us significantly closer to the truth about deaths when conducted properly and in good faith. As Black communities endure the dual anguish of white supremacist violence and mental health crises, coroners compound that anguish by concealing the truth.
This morning to show me a news article that my brother had sent to her. My ex, Javon Maurice Gavan, was found hanging in a tree in the woods in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Not even a month after covering the Trey Reed story. Like, I honestly don't even know how to feel right now. And I don't know what was going on in his life at the time. But if one thing's for certain, two things are for sure. He did not hang himself in the fucking woods. And as morbid as it sounds, we actually used to talk about shit like this when we were together. And if you actually knew him at any point, at any time in his life, you would know him, just like every other Black person in America, would never choose to be hanged from a tree. Like, do y'all honestly believe in your heart of hearts that it is common practice for Black Americans to hang themselves in trees when it is y'all history of hanging and lynching that this country is so desperate to erase? Hey everyone, so I have an update regarding Javon's case, so I just want to share that with you guys. This information was provided to me by advocates in New Mexico that put pressure on the police department, as there really wasn't much information on this besides word of mouth here in his hometown. They should have already released their statement as of yesterday, but I'll go ahead and fill you in if you haven't already heard about it. So it turns out, according to police reports, Javon actually passed away last year, and his death is just now being made known. According to the police report, he was found hanged by chains from a pillar in front of a vacant business, not in the woods as originally reported. Now, normally this would be good news, right? Because that means it happened in public. There's likely to be security camera footage from like neighboring businesses, street cams, something, right? No, because this case was closed fairly quickly with very little investigation and was ruled a suicide almost immediately. They did not attempt life-saving measures, as they reported that he was already gone by the time they got there, and the only person that they interviewed was the employee that found him. There was no mention of any attempt to review any of the footage or to contact the next of kin to notify them of his death or to request a second autopsy if that's what they wanted. And he has since been cremated, so doing a second autopsy is now out of the question. Now, are these answers better than having nothing? Yes. Does this feel like it's finished? We have everything explained. There's no need for more investigation? Absolutely not. Because despite it being from a pillar instead of a tree, I, like a lot of people, feel like this case was closed way too quickly. I can't help but think that had this been a different colored person, that they would have done more. They wouldn't have just closed the case and never talked about it again. Never reporting on it, never contacting anyone about it, despite his social media being a Google search away. Just like complete disregard, as if no one cared. And I'm seeing some news outlets being like, make sure you verify multiple sources, as if there were multiple sources before now. Just last week, there was virtually no information anywhere about this. There was just one local report and word of mouth. And I, like many other people, scoured the internet for more information, scoured the internet for any news article, for anybody talking about it at all. But because the case was covered up so quickly, there were no sources. There was nobody talking about it. There wasn't even a single media outlet in the town that it happened that reported on this. So I, just like other people who cared about him, said what we knew, pushed for more information, and now we're getting it. Now there are news reports about it. Now people are talking about it. Now there are police reports that are available to the public. So now that we know where and when it happened, hopefully the crucial information that shows what happened wasn't lost with all the time in between his death and it being public knowledge. I appreciate any and everybody who was working hard to try to uncover what happened to Javon, and I will keep you updated as long as the information is provided to me.
Okay, so I must pause here to clearly define lynching, since most people associate death by hanging as the defining act of a lynching, when it is actually defined as a person or a mob of people acting outside of the law to physically punish another person, resulting in death. This can happen to anyone of any color, but it was systematically used to intimidate and terrorize Black communities in order to gain and maintain economic, political, and social control. So, by definition, what happened to Ahmaud Arbery, for example, in February of 2020, is considered a lynching.
When you're passionate about something and you really believe in something and you have the will to spread that, I think, yeah, talk about it. What I'm the most proud of is the second pre-chorus of True Believer, where I reference Strange Fruit. I also reference this neighborhood in Franklin, like really close to where I grew up, called Hard Bargain. And it was like 17 acres or something like that, that this formerly enslaved man bought from his former enslaver. It's still there and it's protected now. But of course, you know, Franklin and Nashville are being gentrified all the time. I'm really proud of the fact that I wrote about my city, but I was also able to inject this history that I'm aware of that I think is really important to pass on. I don't know, I just felt like a real lyricist when I finished that. I said the thing that I feel, and I said it in a way that is succinct, and I'm proud of it.
Astrologically, her sentiment makes sense. Hayley Williams is a Capricorn sun, Virgo moon, Gemini rising. Her chart ruler is Mercury, the planet of the messenger, the planet of communication. Gemini delivers the words, Virgo carries the vibration, the instruments, the sound. Both are ruled by Mercury and both carry messages. But what grounds Hayley's message, what makes it feel heavy, karmic, even shadowy, is her Gemini personality being expressed through her Capricorn sun. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn governs karma, life cycles, and the ancestral realm, amongst other things, making Capricorn adapt at ancestral healing and understanding karmic patterns within a family structure as well as within institutions. This is why some people felt that True Believer was a hex, because it carried the weight of karma and ancestral reckoning. But maybe she isn't hexing anything at all. Maybe she's revealing what was always there. It just needed to be said by someone who looked a certain way so that the right audience would listen.
The South will not rise again until it's paid for every sin is such an incredibly powerful lyric from Hayley Williams' song True Believer. And I specifically want to just touch on why it is so important that she, as a white Southern woman from Nashville, is the one saying this. As a white Southern woman myself, I'm from Texas. I have actually interacted with people in my life who are like part of the Sons of the Confederacy, which is like the Daughters of the American Revolution, but for the worst kinds of people. And they genuinely believe things like the South will rise again. They say these things to each other. And for them, there is a specific kind of Southern white womanhood that is also the ideal and is wrapped up in all this white supremacist bullshit. And in many ways, Hayley represents that exact ideal. So for her to come out and say this in this song is incredibly powerful, and I'm fucking here for it.
This is one of the most powerful anthems I've heard, from a white person speaking on what we've been through, the things that, the pain of a black person, and why she believes that the South will not rise again until they do what needs to be done to rectify. Another thing is, if you go back and watch some of the videos of people who have listened to the song that are white and what they're posting as they understand it, as they start to peel away at the onion, not even knowing about strange fruit and what that meant and what that is. For those who you have to understand history is taught differently depending on where you are in these United States. So you might say, oh, they should know, they know. You'd be surprised. And so this is a person, I've heard people say, I did not know this. Now I know what this line means in the Billie Holiday song. Now I understand it. Probably a song they've never heard, but now they go in and they're looking and they're finding that Billie Holiday song, Strange Fruit, and they're listening to it. We know it. It was for us. It was the pain we felt deep down in our bellies when we heard it, because our ancestors were speaking through our blood every time that song played. So we know it. But now they're getting to hear it and truly know it. And that's full circle.
There are two parts of Hayley Williams' song True Believer that I don't hear enough people talking about, or like people sort of like skipping over, and I want to dive deep into them. And if you're like, why? I'm like, you do it with Taylor Swift, let me do it with Hayley Williams. Keeping in mind also, this is information that I have gathered from the works and writings of Black individuals. So I understand that what I am saying is not new to that community. But if you look like me and you like the song, there are two things you really need to know. Obviously, the first is the phrase, strange fruit, hard bargain. Now here's the thing. In that song, one of the lyrics is blood on the leaves, blood in the root. I apologize, at the root. But the next line hits so hard, and it is, till the roots, Southern Gotham. The double meaning in that first till the roots, those three words, literally had my jaw on the floor. Because obviously first, tilling the roots means you have to dig it up. You don't get to just bargain it away. You don't get to just pay some whatever you decide. You have to dig it up. And when you dig it up, because it's strange fruit, there will be blood on the roots, and you have to reckon with that. And the second is that word at the beginning, because it's the word till, as in Emmett. And if you look like me and you don't know who Emmett Till is, babe, you got to do work. Emmett Till was a 14-year-old black boy from Mississippi who was tortured and lynched because he offended, allegedly, Carolyn Bryant. And so when I think of those words, like when she's putting that visual imagery of strange fruit in there, she's literally calling on the name of Emmett Till in the process, and it gives me huge chills. So Hayley, thank you for your work. If you have questions about what I was talking about, go find somebody else. Go find Black educators and pay them money. That's all.
Now, I've probably listened to this song 200 times, and as I was listening to it again this morning, my idea about the chorus kind of started to shift a little bit. So if you know the chorus, it goes, "I'm the one who still loves your ghost. I reanimate your bones with my belief. I'm the one who still loves your ghost. I reanimate your bones because I'm a true believer." Now, something I want to note about the chorus is that it's in first person. It's I. So this could absolutely be in reference to Hayley herself, which is what my initial thought was. But I also wonder if in the chorus, Hayley is turning into the audience that she is trying to speak to. And she is saying that Southern Gotham lives on because you reanimate the bones and the ghost of the path, that it is your belief that allows it to continue. And I think that in understanding the chorus that way, Hayley understands that the people that she is trying to speak to are not going to hear her, and they are going to continue to reanimate the bones of the past and play with those ghosts and allow Southern Gotham to continue. In essence, Hayley is predicting their response before even they do.
The truth is, the South doesn't need Hayley to hex it. The land is already marked. Lynchings is not ancient history. It is a present-day haunting. So when Williams reanimates the phrase strange fruit, she is not cursing the South. She is reminding us of what is still unresolved, what is still haunting this country.
That Mississippi is known as the Bible Belt, okay? And this is where it's like really starts Christianity, where the most heinous crimes against humanity has happened, such as the hangings, the lynchings, burning bodies, etc. I just wanted to interject that.
Okay. Not only was Trey hung in Mississippi at Delta State University, Corey was found hung 100 miles from him. This here ain't no coinkydink. I'm telling y'all, it's something going on, man. When I be outside, it's like they so much louder racist with it. Man, when I be saying this out loud to my friend, they be, "Oh, you know how they act. You know how them red." No. For a little period of time, they just give you a little side. No, they very loud. This is, bruh, it's no way that's not connected. In the same state, and y'all trying to sit up here and convince us it was no foul play done what happened to Trey, then 100 miles later, somebody else is on a tree. So what y'all gonna say about that? How is no foul? Can't nobody get up there and hang they y'all, man, look here.
So the second autopsy has been completed for Trey Reed, and if you don't remember, Trey Reed was found hanging from a tree at Delta State University in Mississippi shortly after CK was. Authorities were very quick to rule that Trey Reed took his own life, and it was very suspicious. So actually, Colin Kaepernick funded a second independent autopsy, and those results are now in. Here are a few things that the first autopsy conveniently left out. It appears as though Reed suffered blunt force trauma on the back of his head, and that was not in the first report. Also, the belt that was found and used on Reed was 3 sizes too big for him, so it would not have been his belt. And the injuries around his neck were reported to not be consistent with a self-unaliving of that form. It was also not reported that he was found on a part of campus that was conveniently known for not having cameras. It was also neglected to be told to everybody that he had gotten in an altercation a few days prior with a group of white students over the death of CK. So putting that all together, does it still really look like he took his own life? No, it doesn't. It looks like somebody's covering up what happened to him.
As many of you likely know, I'm from Mississippi. I no longer live there. Born and raised, 32 years of my life lived in Mississippi. And I can guarantee you that those two black men did not commit suicide. They were lynched. Let's call it like it is. They were lynched. And we need to speak up and make sure that they don't close the books on this and that these families get the justice that they deserve.
It just needs to be said very clear that 4 black men hanging from trees in 1 week is not a coincidence. It's not an accident, it is not an incident. The fact that all 4 cases have said no foul play and then just close the cases, like at this point, all marginalized communities need to round the wagon. Like some people are like, stop just like, don't make conspiracy theories or stop, stop being alarmist, but the alarms already rang. Like the alarms rung. That is past tense.
It may be safe to say that Hayley Williams' song True Believer is not really a hex, but more so her acting as a medium through which suppressed histories and ancestral voices re-enter collective consciousness. She is a messenger, and she's using her power, her privilege, and her fame to bring attention to something that needs to be resolved.